Hey everybody, this is another laptop repair video from Q Computer Channel. In this video I'm going to be replacing this broken power jack on this HP G72 notebook. What happened was, while this laptop was sitting on the floor plugged in, the power cord got stepped on, and from that it pulled the power jack completely loose from the machine, broke some plastic in this area, and if you might be able to tell, it does some pretty serious damage to the power jack itself. You might be able to see some wires hanging to the side here. And of course here is the replacement power jack for this notebook. This notebook here has a slightly different design on the power jack itself. Many laptops out there have the power jack soldered to a PCB. These can be a bit more difficult to repair because it requires a bit of soldering experience. Usually you have to have a heat gun to make these kind of repairs. But in this case all I had to do is plug in a new cord. But still we're going to have to tear this notebook down just to make this repair. So I'm going to attach my camera to a tripod and I'm going to get started here. Okay, first thing you want to do when you're doing a major repair to a notebook is first remove the battery. Even though this battery is probably dead, it's still a good thing to remove it and set it to the side. Now I'll go ahead and remove these access doors to the hard drives, memory, and that sort of stuff. Okay, I just removed all the access doors, and the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and remove the screws from the bottom of the notebook, and we'll place certain screws in a certain area so that way I know exactly where to go. I'll put this thing together. And how I do that is I'll draw circles on the table, and I'll place certain screws in certain circles and label the circles for where the screws go. Well, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the Wi-Fi card, remove the memory and the hard drive. It's a pretty dang nice notebook. It's got 4 gigs of RAM in it. See what size hard disk drive it has. Okay, just pulled the hard drive out, and this thing has a 500 gig hard drive. So 4 gigs of memory and a 500 gig hard drive. And let me tell you something, that is extremely overkill for the people that are using this thing. They probably only have maybe 20 or 30 gigs of that drive used up. That's operating system programs and files total. Anyways, next step will be to go and flip this thing over and go ahead and remove the keyboard. And start removing the palm rest and everything from it. Let me tell you, the notebook's not old either. It was manufactured. The hard drive in it was manufactured in 2010. Just to give you an idea of the age of this thing. I have to say, this computer hasn't been taken care of very well at all. There's a whole bunch of thumbprints and mess on the LCD. We got a key missing down here. Let's go ahead and get this palm rest off here if we can. I think the keyboard has to come off first, so we'll go ahead and try to remove it. Okay, keyboard's popped out. Now I gotta remove this little ribbon down here. Set the keyboard to the side. Now it's on to removing this palm rest. I think that's all the screws right there, so we're going to try to see if we can get this to pop out. We're going to remove the cable going from the touchpad and other things. Okay, palm rest has been removed and set to the side, and let's see what we have here. Okay, here's the power jack that's broken, if you can see or not. Let me go and adjust the camera up a little bit. So here's a power jack. All these different wires here. And I believe, okay, here's our new one. Let's go ahead and figure out where this goes. It goes connected right here, so we don't want to remove the motherboard completely to do this repair, but we've got to remove these cables here and get these out of the way so I can get to the spot where the power jack goes plugged in. You're kidding me, right? Well, okay, here's a fine example of HP's very shoddy engineering. I want to remove this cable here, barely pulling any pressure at all on it, and the whole solder joints is popped loose. So now this connector is just broke loose from the motherboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the whole motherboard out and take it out to the garage, use the heat gun to reflow solder this connector back to place. Ridiculous. Now have a look here at all this dust in this fan. See, HPs are also known to have fans that clog up very easy. And of course we're only looking at the fan here, we're not even looking at the actual fans on the cooler, which we'll have a look at once I get the board removed, to fix the very cheaply soldered connector on the end of the board. Okay, now I got the motherboard port out. Let's go and have a look here. If you can see inside there. And as figured, it is slammed full of dust. It can't breathe. I mean, this is typical for HP. They clog up faster than any other notebooks I've ever seen. Let's have a look at the side there. Is that ridiculous or what? Oh, here's another thing that kind of gives you an idea of the star quality of HP laptops. Notice this chip here. See, here it's designed where it's supposed to have a heatsink on it. Well, HP failed to put any sort of coolant on it. They just leave it exposed. So we'll see how long that lasts. Okay, another day. I finally just got this connector fixed on this motherboard. Had to use a heat gun to reflow solder it back to the board. This is a surface mount component. So now I can actually go ahead and replace the power jack and put this computer back together. Right here is the power jack, which comes from Hong Kong. It took about a month to get here, but this is the exact replacement of what's in this computer. Over here is the old one. If you can see, it's located right here. Now it's just a matter of pulling this out and installing a new one. Okay, since the edge of this notebook is broke right here, all I can do is set the power jack in there, and when I get this thing back together, all I'm going to do is hot glue everything back to place the way it's supposed to be. The power jack is supposed to sit right here, and the cord runs through here. Run this little guide. And it goes plugged in right in this area. So now I'm going to set the board back down into the computer. And I also went ahead and cleaned out the fan on this thing too. As you might be able to tell, it looks a whole lot better than what it did. Of course, be careful when you're setting a laptop motherboard back into the machine. Just make sure it sits down exactly the way it's supposed to go. Usually the only thing that'll cause you a little bit of trouble is the ports on the side of the notebook. Okay, motherboard's now installed, and I went ahead and installed the new power jack and glued it in place because like I was saying, the plastic around here was broken when the old power jack got broke, so I had to glue it in place so it would stay in place where it's supposed to be. Now it's just a matter of putting this thing back together. Okay, just got the notebook back together and works just fine. I don't understand why the owner of this thing has the screen on the side like that, but beats me. But anyways, this thing is working just fine, powered right up, not a problem. Anyways, that's how you replace the power jack in a HP G72 notebook. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. And of course over here, before I quit the video, this is the final product.